Take it away, Sadie.
Hi, everyone. Thank you. Thank you for attending. I'm going to go ahead and attempt to screen share. So that way, can everyone see this okay? All right. So again, my name is Katie Perkins. I am a doctoral candidate in the Leadership Studies program at Bowling Green State University. And before we get started, I'm going to go through just a little bit of my background so you kind of see where it is I'm coming from with this whole idea of active listening and reflective response within our students. So I actually earned my undergraduate degree from Bowling Green State University a few years ago. And unlike today where there's a teacher shortage and you can get a job wherever you want, I ended up traveling, interviewing many different places, and I was hired as an 8th grade science teacher in Houston, Texas. And I was at an urban public school district, very large. I always joke that there was more students on my hallway than the town I grew up in. I'm from a very small town here in Northwest Ohio, but it was a great learning experience. And those students and the faculty taught me so much. So I ended up staying in the classroom for 6 years. While I was doing that, I earned my master's from University of Texas at Arlington in science, curriculum, and instruction. And there was an opening as a mathematics curriculum and instructional specialist, and instructional coaching was a big part of that as well. And I was in that role for 5 years before we decided, my family and I, to move back to Northwest Ohio, start this new journey in the doctorate program at BGSU, and we came home. And it's been wonderful ever since. So that's my background. And to get started, let's take a look at some of these images and if it rings any bells. So here we have a student on her on her Chromebook laptop. Oh, we have someone a little bit tired there. And oh, we have the go-getter. I want to answer that question. Please, please, please choose me. So here we have an array of opportunities in our classroom to kind of turn the technology off, be present, be awake, and also get that opportunity to share with not just the whole group, with everyone. And we all have our thoughts. So we're going to practice that today. So first, we're going to brainstorm, just a little bit of wait time. What are some benefits of student conversations in the classroom? Just take a moment, think about it. What are the benefits of student conversations in the classroom? While you're thinking, I'm going to post a link to a Google Doc in the chat. When you open that up, if you would like to use it to take some notes today or just to save, it has some directions. Please make a copy of it, and that way you can edit that. So I'm going to do that now. So everyone should be able to see that document, and I'm going to pull it up as well just to, oops. So it looks like this. So again, this is just for your documentation, some note taking. We're going to do a couple of these, and then here you see the 5 strategies we're going to cover are listed with a description and then some sample questions that we're going to be using together. So this document will be very helpful for you throughout the presentation. Okay, back to this. So keeping that in mind about this whole idea of student conversations in the classroom, I'm going to talk about a little about what I noticed as a classroom teacher and instructional coach. First thing I noticed is that whole group discussions
Katie, you're on mute. Also, the link didn't show up in the chat yet.
Dr. Broder, can you do that for me?
Yeah, I think I just added it. Let me know if that works for you.
All right. Okay, so a couple things I noticed as a classroom teacher and as an instructional coach were that whole group discussions were not benefiting the whole group. You know, the teacher, they pose a question, and a lot of times you have that same student raising their hand or wanting to provide their answer and their thoughts. And you have some students that are very quiet, shy, just unattentive, not participating, those types of situations. I also noticed that students learn from one another only if they're given that opportunity to do so. And I also noticed the instructor isn't the only one that can answer questions. Use your resources when students are working on something or they have a question. That a lot of times the teacher, the instructor, you know, they rush around here to here to here. But I realized that there are other students in that room that might have an answer, or they can work together to solve that answer. And students were more likely to participate in structured small group discussions. I'm going to show you what those look like. Through research, I've learned that the implementation of peer conversations has been linked to positive student outcomes. And these benefits include an increased sense of belonging because they're taking some ownership, they're expressing their thoughts, whether it be in speech or in writing. You see some higher retention and increased participation, and improved communication and leadership skills. So this whole idea of being combative, well, you can still disagree with someone or share your own thoughts without necessarily needing to scream. And it gives you some exposure to diverse perspectives. And finally, another benefit that students receive from collaboration with peers is a high feeling of accomplishment, that they're growing in their speaking and listening and writing and reading skills. They have that ownership, and they're just becoming themselves. So let's reflect. How frequently do you, as instructors, allow students the opportunity to process knowledge with classmates? And what are some drawbacks to having students converse during class time? Because there are some. So let's think about that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put you in some breakout groups. And just for a couple minutes, you're going to reflect on those questions. Again, how frequently do you allow students the opportunity to process knowledge? And what are some drawbacks to having students converse during class time? So your breakout groups will start as soon as I can find it. There they are. Okay.
Katie, as I understand it, the breakout rooms won't be recorded, but I'm assuming that's okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Ruben and Kelly, I see your names are still in here. I don't know if you were able to join the breakout rooms or if you had any questions.
I have until noon, correct?
Yes, that's right.
Welcome back. That was your first chance to kind of see who's here and who you're talking with. So I'm hoping that you did discuss some drawbacks to having students have conversations during class, and I'm hoping that some of the strategies that we go over today alleviate some of those drawbacks. So the 6 instructional strategies we're going to cover are answer, listen, respond, a penny for my thoughts, 30, 60, 90, a single or double round robin, share and tell, and if we have time, we'll go over card sorts, but we probably won't have time. And some of these are going to work really well in the virtual space that we're in. Some of them I'm simply going to have to try to explain because you really need to be face-to-face. But there are some things you need. And you'll notice that these things you are easily accessible. The first thing is something called a table mat. And you'll also need a timer and then seed questions. And we'll discuss that as well. So those are your basic needs. Table mats look like this. So they identify not only a table or a group, but they also identify each person at the table. So this is an example of a group of 4. I teach at BGSU, so sometimes we have groups of 6 or 8, and I have table mats for those as well. So this is a very basic one. A, B, C, and D. Every student at their table would know what letter they are, and of course what table they're sitting at. Here's one that's a little more in depth. So you can see here you have person 1, 2, 3, and 4, but you also have partners A and B that could be shoulder partners, or you have partners A and B that can be face partners. So if you pose a question or a task, you can say shoulder partners, and they automatically know who they're supposed to be turning and talking to. Or you can also say face partners. Here's one for the littles. It's by color. Maybe you're teaching even preschool, kindergarten, not quite strong with those numbers and letters yet, but they probably know their colors. And then I even chose an object that they'd be familiar with for the apple table or the banana table. And again, these are just ways to identify the table and the individual at that table. And here's one calling a table by a content piece, right? So I put Abraham Lincoln there in the middle. You're doing some American history, you might be the Lincoln table. And those are all just examples. You can modify and create these. You can also find them to purchase. They're pretty popular if you Google cooperative learning mats or conversation table mats. So thinking about how you could use this in your classroom, because we're all coming from different areas, different grade levels, different content areas. Within your the Google Doc, there was a little spot there for you to just kind of brainstorm how your table mat would look. And a lot of that's going to depend on the furniture that's in your classroom. You might have, semicircle tables that fit together, or some really neat trapezoid type ones that work. You might not. So it really just depends on how your classroom looks as to how you could bring these table mats. Of course, I would highly suggest laminating them if possible. You can stick them down however you need, but they work really well. And once you teach the students how to use them, how to read them, it just kind of becomes second nature. It becomes part of your classroom procedures. So those are table mats.
Katie, I'm going to jump in real quick because there's a question in the chat about Kagan structures from Danica.
What was the exact question?
Kagan structures.
Yes. So I have attended Kagan structures, Kagan strategies many years ago. And if you looked up his, or I guess their table mats, they look very similar. Mm-hmm. Yep. So if you have attended a Kagan training, if you were awarded that opportunity, they're very expensive. I know the school district that I worked at spent like $120,000 to train us all. So if you, this is a little snip of some of the ideas from that, and then some that co-workers and I have come up with throughout the years. So great question. So this use of timers. In the chat, if you could answer this question, just putting A, B, C, and D, I'm curious. I've never used a timer for student pacing. or I use my phone or watch to set time limits. I use a Google timer in a separate tab on the screen, or I use embedded timers in my presentation. Let's see here. Very good. I see a lot of B's and some C's, and I'm going to encourage you to move on to D, and that is because your students can then see the time, right? They can see this is only 4 minutes long, and I watch that, time kind of tick through. And if you don't know how to embed a timer into a presentation, I'm going to show you real quick. Super easy. So this is we're using Google Docs. PowerPoint's pretty similar, but insert video, and you're going to go to YouTube and you can type in anything. Let's do a 3-minute timer. You click, and you do want to make sure that they're not the most annoying sounds at the end. There are some silent ones. There are some that you can just turn, of course you can turn your volume off, but click select, and that is the end of that. It'll pop up. There's your 3-minute timer. So as far as it being a time-consuming event for you, it is not. So there's that 3-minute timer. I'm going to delete that because I don't want it there. And we're back. So that's how you embed a timer. So hopefully we can now say either I'm going to attempt to embed timers in my lessons to assist with student conversations, or I'm going to continue the use of embedded timers if you already have. So those would be a great strategy to start doing. And also part of the basic need are seed questions. So seed questions are predetermined questions that are aligned with the learning objectives and allow students the opportunity to process, reflect, and converse with others to develop new ideas and solidify learning. So truly what that is you are planting, right? A seed question, you're planting this idea, and then they have to kind of figure it out, have this conversation. They're all coming from different backgrounds, different experiences, and they're all able to bring something to the table. It is tricky because a lot of times we want to answer fact questions or yes or no questions, and seed questions can't be really generated from that. You don't get a lot of that conversation piece when you're using yes or no questions. Okay, so we're going to start with our strategies. The first one we're going to do is ALR, and to do that, we're going to watch this video together, and then we're going to do the activity. I shared my sound, so hopefully everyone can see this. If not, please put it in the chat.
Hey, Mr. Q. Did you see that? Why would somebody do that?
Please go into the classroom, no talking, quietly.
Hey, Miss Merida, how you doing?
We need you inside.
How do you think that makes us feel? I forgot my number.
What's your name?
Jordan.
What's your last name?
Carter.
All right. Go ahead.
School is hard enough.
Come on in, sit down quietly at your desks, and begin writing.
This kind of stuff just makes it harder.
I said quietly, please. Who's talking? Is it you, Sophie? Don't let it be you.
Don't believe me?
Sophie.
Please just watch.
I'm not up here for me, I'm up here for you. Pay attention, okay? Now somebody answer me. Somebody needs to answer me really fast.
Every time we're ignored or yelled at or silenced, a teacher takes away what's possible.
No horseplay, no running, and especially no talking.
Moment by moment.
Miss Garrity, your student's behavior yesterday in the lunchroom, it was terrible. Next time, silent lunch.
Did you hear that? Stay in line and catch a bubble. I'm not playing.
If this is education, we're in trouble. Bye, Miss McGarrity. Frederick Douglass said, once you learn to read, you'll be forever free. The way it is now, 2 of the 3 of us will never be able to really read. It doesn't have to be this way.
Hey, Jordan, how you doing?
Good.
Good.
Everyone we meet throughout our day can make a difference.
I've been waiting for you to arrive.
All the difference.
Good, how are you? Great. Hi, Jordan. Bye, Jason.
Good morning, Jordan.
How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for asking. How are you?
Good.
Go ahead and put your number in.
Talk with us, not at us.
That's okay. I'll look it up for you. Go ahead, sweetheart.
Okay.
All right. Have a
Teach us what we need to know.
good morning.
That's how we get smarter.
Well, good morning, Sophie, Janicia, and Jordan.
And when you talk with us and teach us, give us bigger and bigger words.
Now what I'd like you to do, children, is turn around and converse with your neighbor and discuss where the mother might have gone.
Words that we can use to read and understand.
She is prey for eagles, so she hunts at night.
And that will take us places we can never reach without you.
Remember, we're entering the learning zone. Now, how can we show our respect to the children and teachers who are working?
We can walk quietly.
Yes. Okay, kids, so what I'd like you to do is continue writing your narrative, documenting your emotions if you were the baby owl and your mother abandoned you in the nest.
What can you do? Learn all that you can so that you can challenge us to be our best.
You would have stayed and assisted them in whatever they needed.
Share yourself with us and show us how to share ourselves with others. Give us courage. Give us compassion. Help us find our own voices so we can become who we are meant to be. Why would you want to silence us?
I'm muted. There we go. We all just watched that very powerful moving video. And I would like us to practice or just kind of go through how you could do something. We all use videos in our classroom using this idea of ALR, or answer, listen, and respond. So this is done with partners. So the teacher would say, you know, partner A, you're going to answer the leading question. So if I'm using this table talking mat there, I could say face partners. Partner A, answer the leading question, which I will show you. Partner B, you're going to actively listen, restate what partner A says, and then you can respond with your own thoughts, right? So this whole idea of eye contact, truly listening to what someone else is saying, putting it in your own words, and then talking about your experiences or thoughts. So for this, you could say something like, how did the first part of the video make you feel? How about the second? Partner A would talk, then you would get partner B. And again, because we're where we are on Zoom, and for sake of time, I think you can kind of get this whole idea of this is a partner talking, and then you can flip it so that way partner B gets a chance to lead the conversation as well. So how do the actions of the adults determine the attitudes of the student? And you would have this conversation. I hope you found that video quite moving. And again, this whole idea of quieting our students and not letting them have that ability to speak. So that is ALR, or answer, listen, and respond. You can use a timer for this. We talked about timers. And again, it really depends on how long you want the students to converse. I actually just did this last week in my personal class. And because it's so structured, you can just listen for the sounds to stop, because everyone talked and it was done. So I actually didn't even need a timer. So it just depends. The next one I would like to go over is called A Penny for My Thoughts. So in this one, it's very fun. Everyone gets a penny, and you can use real money. A lot of classrooms, especially younger ones, they have play money. And you can even use cutout money, or it truly doesn't even have to be money. It could be a pencil if you don't have pennies. Every student has their object. The teacher poses a question, and the students take turns by placing their penny at the center of the table. After every student has used their penny, then the process can start again if there's enough time. Okay, so for example, I like to do this for an icebreaker at the very beginning of a semester. Meet your fellow classmates. So again, everybody has their penny, and these are some sentence stems to meet your fellow classmates. So I have the timer there. It's for 4 minutes. And if you can kind of picture, it doesn't have to go in order. Sometimes it just does naturally, but I wanted everyone to start with the first one. So I am Katie from Ohio, and everybody gets to do that. Then you all grab your pennies again, and you get to pick which sentence you want to talk about. And it really does help this idea of equitable participation. Everyone kind of feels this force to participate, but it's in a small group setting. So it's not in front of everyone. Some students get really anxiety talking in front of people like that. And it works really, really well. And again, this is called a penny for my thoughts. And you could do this with content, of course. This was for an icebreaker. You can do it in many different ways. I'm going to share this video on sentence stems. It really helps with students from various populations such as ESL, students that have different learning disabilities, just to give their brains a place to start, but you're not filling in the blanks for them, right? They still get to process and listen, come up with their own thoughts. So this is a little video on sentence stems.
Sentence stems are a part of the sentence that students can then build on to complete their thought or their sentence. So I may write the first 2 or 3 words of a sentence, and then students can fill those in with the remaining words. So it's a framework that the students can use. I like using them because it helps me incorporate writing into my class to where my students can access it, and just it gets them started with a project. It gets everyone's head down, pen to paper, and kind of allows them to focus on what the prompt is. And they're really effective for the English language learners because a beginner student can add a couple words, they can complete a thought, and an intermediate, advanced student can finish that sentence and add another sentence. So often they're receiving information. If you get them writing, they're really thinking about what they're doing. So using a sentence stem really allows the ESL students to access that critical thinking. So it just kind of helps students get started and gives them a framework.
So again, she was talking about using them for writing, which is 100% amazing. You can also use them for speaking. And here are some other sentence stem examples. For instance, I think that, for example, in my opinion, and these can be tossed out anywhere. You can make these in an anchor chart for students to reference at any point in time. Even the last one, I don't understand why. I feel like sometimes we always want students to have the right answer, but to process and understand why you don't understand something is also extremely beneficial. So those were sentence stems. The next strategy I would like to talk about is 30, 60, 90. So again, you start with that seed question, and all students are just going to think. Silence for 30 seconds. A 30-second timer works great, so you can actually see. A lot of times 30 seconds feels like an hour if it's completely silent, but that's what we need. We need this wait time. And then pairs of students, so we can have an A and B, they're going to talk for 60 seconds. Whatever the question was, whatever they were thinking about, they get 1 minute to talk together, just the partner. And then small groups of students. So now you have a whole group. You can what did your partner talk about? What did your partner talk about? You're going to come up with a consensus for the whole group to then share. So you're coming out, you each have your own thoughts, your partner sharing, your group sharing, and you have to decide how you want to answer the question condensedly by one person. You can also use those table mats to select a number. So it's not just who wants to share out. Sometimes you can say like, okay, today twos be ready to share, because everybody already knows their number. So they are going to be the ones, okay, I'm gonna write this down because I need to, or maybe they're just great speakers, but it gives them your opportunity. And as teachers, if you have a seating chart, you kind of know what number you might want to call on at different times. You can be very strategic with the placement of your numbers. So that's 30, 60, 90. And the next one is called a single or double round robin. Again, teacher poses a question. Students reflect individually on the prompt. Again, that wait time process. And this can be thoughts or writing. So we've talked a lot about speaking. Let's switch to a writing activity. And this can be done in any content, math, science, language arts, of course, social studies, anything. Students share the reflections in a clockwise manner. So let's say you pose a question, every student's writing, and then you're going to trade your paper. That person's going to read and then reflect on what you said. And you can provide some sentence stems. I agree with you because blah, 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 blah. So it really just depends. And again, this could be spoken or written in writing, or using writing and reading as response. And it could be just a very calming, but you're still getting your ideas out there, and it's not whole group. And you can do this as many times as needed. So single would be, of course, you went around the table one time, but maybe a double would make more sense. You all read first and then you can write. It really depends on the outcome for that day. And then we have share and tell. So share and tell, one of my favorites because it gets students up and moving. So it's a piggyback off of the single round robin. So again, the single round robin, you went around the table one time, everybody got to share their answers. With the share and tell, you come up with that consensus, and then you call on a number to move to a different table. So it looks like this. All my number threes, please stand up and rotate clockwise. Number three, sit down and share what your table discussed. So here you have almost starting a whole group conversation many different times. And it's a beautiful thing in action. Again, that is called share and tell. Share and tell. So that was super fast, very fast. Those were what, 5 different strategies. Now we're going to try to apply some of them. I'm sure many of you have seen this video before. It's super, yeah. So you're going to have to watch it again. So sorry. And then we're going to talk about what changes could that teacher make to assist Moises. Okay.
We have testing all week this week and next week. The tests are going to be hard, but that's all right because we're going to try really hard. Isn't that right, Cameron?
Yes, Ms. Peters.
Okay, great. Everyone listen up. So we're going to want to work on we get ours from the answer and the information in the story, okay? We're going to go ahead and test, practical test, and try this actus test. Test your test. Open up. So we're going to page. You go to page. First on page 3.
¿Qué dijo? ¿A poco va a empezar el examen? No, es una práctica.
We're going to take notes from the story and we're going to turn it into a math problem and we're going to walk through it together, okay? So the boy ran 3 blocks. So everyone write 3 blocks.
I didn't even know. He was like a stranger.
How long did it take him to run 3 blocks? Michelle?
6 minutes.
Very good, 6 minutes. All right, so then we take 3 blocks and 6 minutes,
¿Por qué el niño corre con los bloques? ¿Qué? Sí, ¿por qué el niño corre con los bloques?
No,
Okay, so
corre
the
3
question
calles.
we're going to go on to ask us, how long will it take him to run 20 blocks? What do we do? How many minutes is that per block?
8 minutes.
Try and remember to raise your hand if you want to answer, okay? No, it's not 8 minutes. Michelle?
18 minutes?
Nope, not 18 minutes. Yes, Enrique?
40?
40, yeah, very good. How'd you get 40?
I don't know.
You don't know? Well, 40 is the right answer. How did you get it?
I forgot.
You forgot. Okay. Does anyone know how we get 40? Yes, Moises. 40. Yep, that's right. Very good. Great. Can you tell us how you got that? 40. Yep, very good. But can you explain to the class what you did here, how you got that? 40. Okay, all right, you guys, settle down.
That is so dumb.
Joe, do you want to lose your recess?
No.
Okay, then. Thank you, Moises.
Can you help me, please?
Can you take a walk with me? I don't want you to worry about the test, okay, Moises?
Sí, estoy preocupada sobre el examen. La directora Rosa dijo que todavía tenemos que hacer.
Just try your best, okay? Do you understand? Not importante.
Sí, sí es importante.
You're right, Moises. It is important.
So let's talk. What changes could the teacher make to assist Moises? We have a few minutes here, so I'm going to let you talk in breakout groups. Again, small groups, you're more likely to participate more. So bear with me here. I'm going to turn those on.
Looks like maybe Jeanette has not been assigned to a room. Would you like me to move her somewhere?
Yes. Yes, please.
Yeah, no problem. Jeanette, I am going to send you to room 3. Corbin and Kelly, let us know if you're having any trouble getting into your rooms. Actually, it looks like they're both the only people in their rooms. So I'm going to move them.
Okay. Oh, I forgot to change the time.
Hey, Rachel, are you having any difficulty with your breakout room?
The time's up.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. It's okay. They had a little bit of time.
I didn't realize you'd set them with timers. That makes sense.
Welcome back, everyone. So what are some things you talked about? I'm just curious. So what are some changes that the teacher could make to assist Moises? If I could have just a couple people share, that'd be wonderful.
I thought small group instruction could have been a lot more beneficial instead of the whole group instruction, so that she can meet the needs of her students better.
Absolutely. And Moises was asking his neighbors for help. Like if you were structuring it that way, they would have had that opportunity to help each other. Very good.
Also allowing him to maybe give his response on how he got the answer in Spanish, because it looked like she had some students that could maybe help translate, and he had the correct answer. He just wasn't sure how to verbally express it in English.
Excellent. And that's hard for native English speakers to try to explain what they're doing in a process, let alone, you know, understanding, translating it, speaking. He's doing it all or trying to do it all. And if the teacher would have looked at his paper, she might have even been able to assist. Very good.
I was going to say, she could have asked him to show everyone. If he can't get it out verbally, there's probably a strong likelihood that he could have gone to the board and just done it without the need for English language proficiency.
Very good. Thank you. Yes. And if we think about some of these strategies we've talked about throughout this presentation, having that opportunity just to converse structurally with his classmates, it truly could have made his whole day different, his whole learning experience for that day. He could have been the shining star in his group versus everyone laughing at him if he was able to just talk to maybe a partner or a small group. Excellent. Thank you all so much. So thinking about if you're ready for some more conversations, remember a couple things. The questions or topics need to be pre-planned and not in a yes or no or, you know, a strict right or wrong answer. You need to allow for those equal opportunities of participation so everyone gets that chance. And eventually it'll just become second nature. They'll know what a round robin is, or they'll understand that, well, we're doing share and tell today. They know the strategies. And always provide, as you're starting it and starting to teach it, provide the students with a model or example of how it's going to look. If you have the option of a co-teacher one day, maybe you and that teacher could model it together. We did that a lot. I would go into classrooms and we would pretend we were the students and model what the strategy would look like. And that really helped students to understand what it looks like. And this idea of academic conversations versus just chatting, right? So similar to the idea that 2 or 3 heads are better than one, educational researchers have found that through the peer instruction, students teach each other by addressing misunderstandings and clarifying misconceptions. So use your resources, and your students are your resources. And to that, I say thank you very much. Again, my name's Katie Perkins. There's my email. If you have any questions at all, anything, please shoot me an email. I'll be happy to walk you through anything. I'm pretty open, so you just let me know. And with that, I say thank you very much. Look at that timing.
Beautiful. Well, thank you, Katie. I hope you all will join me in thanking Katie for this wonderful presentation. A lot of really exciting ideas, and I'm thinking about bringing to my undergrads next week. So thank you for that. There was a comment in the chat from Lauren saying that she felt for the teacher sometimes in real time, we don't always think of the best thing to do, or maybe aren't trained to help the students with specific needs. And thought that was a really good point worth sharing, because for sure, those in the moment decisions can be so difficult. As we are getting ready to wrap up this session, we do still have a whole group opportunity to go back and share out. I was informed there have maybe been a few Zoom glitches. So if you have any difficulty getting into that main room session again, just be patient. It might take a few minutes to get it up and going. In the meantime, I did in the chat put the evaluation for the whole conference, and that's the form that you will need to complete if you want to ask for a certificate for contact hours. So please be sure to click on that link, and you can begin working on that if you have a little delay getting back to the main room. But I will be closing out this room shortly to try to get over to that main room myself. I'll hang out for just a moment in case there's any last questions.